the colony that vanished without a trace. The sun was setting over Roanoke Island, casting long shadows across the dense forest and sandy shores. A gentle breeze rustled through the trees as Captain John White stepped onto the soil he had once called home. His heart pounded with anticipation and unease as he gazed around at the familiar yet eerily silent landscape. Where were the settlers? The colony that had thrived under his leadership just a few years ago now stood abandoned, its wooden structures weathered and crumbling. Before we begin, tell me, where are you listening from, and what time is it there? John had left the colony in the care of Governor Eleanor Dare while he returned to England for supplies. Promising to return swiftly, he sailed away with heavy hearts on both sides. Little did he know that war and political turmoil would delay his return by several years. As he disembarked from his ship, the silence pressed heavily upon him. Not a single soul greeted him. No laughter of children, no calls of laborers, no smoke rising from hearths. The first thing John noticed was the word Croton carved into a post near the fort's entrance. It gave him some hope. This was not the mark of distress they had agreed upon. But still, where had everyone gone? He searched every corner of the settlement, calling out names: Eleanor, Ananias, Virginia. His granddaughter, Virginia, the first English child born in the New World, was among those who had vanished without a trace. Days turned into weeks as John and his men scoured the surrounding areas. They visited nearby islands, questioned native tribes, and followed any clue that might lead them to the missing colonists. The Croatoan tribe, whose name was carved on the post, lived on an island south of Roanoke. Perhaps they held answers. But storms began to batter the coast, forcing John to reconsider his search. Supplies were dwindling, and the crew grew restless. Back in England, news of the colony's disappearance spread slowly. Officials and investors in the Virginia Company debated possible explanations. Had the colonists been attacked by hostile natives? Had they succumbed to disease or starvation? Or had they simply moved inland, seeking better land or safer quarters? Speculation ran wild, but concrete evidence remained elusive. In the months following John's arrival, relations with local tribes became increasingly strained. Some reported seeing white men living among native villages, dressed in tribal clothing and adopting their customs. Others claimed to have found remnants of English tools and utensils scattered throughout the region. Each new piece of information raised more questions than it answered. As seasons changed and years passed, the mystery of Roanoke only deepened. Expeditions launched from Jamestown brought back conflicting reports. Some explorers believed they had found traces of the lost colonists, while others dismissed such claims as fanciful tales. The harsh realities of colonial life made survival difficult even for seasoned settlers, let alone those who had disappeared under such mysterious circumstances. For Eleanor Dare, if she still lived, the journey must have been fraught with hardship and uncertainty. Leaving behind the relative safety of their fortified settlement required immense courage and adaptability. Whether they chose to leave willingly or were forced out by necessity remains unknown. What is certain is that their decision led them into uncharted territory, both literally and figuratively. The natural environment of coastal Carolina presented its own challenges. Summers could be brutally hot and humid, while winters brought biting cold and unpredictable storms. Food sources varied depending on location and season, requiring constant vigilance and resourcefulness. If the colonists had indeed joined with friendly tribes, they would have needed to learn entirely new ways of living, abandoning many of the comforts and practices they brought from England. Over time, the legend of the lost colony grew, becoming part of American folklore. Songs and stories speculated about their fate, imagining everything from peaceful assimilation into native cultures to tragic endings at the hands of enemies. Artists depicted haunting scenes of empty settlements and shadowy figures disappearing into the wilderness. Historians and archaeologists continue to study the site, hoping to uncover definitive evidence of what truly happened. Yet, despite all the theories and investigations, one fact remains undeniable. An entire community vanished from Roanoke Island, leaving behind only cryptic clues and enduring mysteries. Their story serves as a powerful reminder of the uncertainties faced by early settlers and the resilience required to survive in unfamiliar lands. As we ponder their fate, we are reminded that history often holds secrets that may never be fully revealed. The wind still whispers through the trees of Roanoke Island, carrying echoes of voices long silent. Visitors to the site today can walk among the ruins and imagine the lives once lived there. Perhaps somewhere in the vast American wilderness, descendants of those original settlers still carry fragments of their ancestors' stories, unaware of the legends that surround their beginnings. Or maybe the truth lies buried beneath centuries of sand and soil, waiting patiently to be discovered. Whatever happened to the people of Roanoke, their story continues to captivate us. It speaks to our shared human experience of exploration, adaptation, and the search for meaning in the face of uncertainty. In remembering them, we honor not just their disappearance, but also the courage and determination that brought them to this distant shore. And so, the mystery of the lost colony endures, a testament to the enduring power of unanswered questions and the timeless allure of discovery. Pause here for reflection. Imagine the weight of responsibility John felt as he searched for his family and friends. Picture the changing landscapes of coastal Carolina, from lush forests to open beaches. Consider the possibilities that stretch before us like the endless horizon. The story of Roanoke is not just about what was lost, but also about what remains. Questions that linger through generations, connections that transcend time, and the enduring spirit of those who dared to dream beyond the known world. Let these thoughts settle as you ponder the fate of those who vanished without a trace. Their story is woven into the fabric of American history, a thread that runs through our collective consciousness, reminding us that sometimes the most compelling narratives are those that remain unfinished. And perhaps that is how it should be, a mystery that invites each new generation to seek its own answers, to explore its own horizons, and to remember those who came before us, forever lost yet never forgotten. The ship found adrift with no one on board. The sun was setting over the vast Atlantic Ocean, casting a golden hue across the waves as Captain Jameson prepared his ship for another long journey. The Mary Celeste, named after its original owner's daughter, stood proudly at the docks of Boston Harbor. It was an ordinary day in late autumn when the crew gathered on board, ready to set sail towards Europe with a shipment of valuable goods. The atmosphere aboard the vessel was calm and professional. Each sailor knew their role well, having worked together for years under Captain Jameson's steady leadership. As they departed from shore, the wind carried whispers of adventure and prosperity. Little did anyone know that this voyage would become one of the most perplexing mysteries in maritime history. Let us pause here. Take a moment to imagine the scene. Wooden planks creaking beneath boots, salt water spraying against the hull, and laughter echoing among men who shared camaraderie born out of countless journeys at sea. Captain Jameson had assembled a seasoned crew consisting of 10 experienced sailors, including himself. Among them were Thomas Anderson, the first mate known for his sharp eyesight even during foggy nights. Robert Hayes, the quartermaster whose knack for navigation earned him respect throughout New England ports. And William Jenkins, a jovial cook whose hearty meals kept morale high no matter how rough the weather became. Each member brought unique skills necessary for ensuring smooth sailing across unpredictable waters. Their destination was Genoa, Italy, where merchants awaited eagerly to receive barrels filled with industrial alcohol destined for winemakers there. This particular cargo held significant value, not just financially, but also symbolically representing ties between American producers and European consumers, strengthening through trade routes established centuries ago. As we reflect upon these details, let our voices soften, slightly conveying reverence for traditions upheld despite changing times. On the morning following departure, everything seemed normal aboard the Mary Celeste. Breakfast consisted of freshly baked bread paired with strong coffee brewed by Jenkins, while conversations flowed easily about recent events back home or tales spun creatively around campfires ashore. However, as days turned into weeks traversing open seas under clear skies, interspersed occasionally by squalls testing seamanship capabilities, something unusual began occurring, though none could pinpoint exactly what it was initially. It started subtly, perhaps unnoticed, amidst routine tasks performed daily aboard any seafaring vessel. Tools left unattended near railings instead being stored properly inside cabins afterward use. Doors found slightly ajar, contrary usual practice securing tightly before retiring nightfall. Faint sounds resembling footsteps heard late hours below decks, yet no figure seen whenever investigations conducted swiftly, albeit cautiously, lest intruders lurked stealthily within confines floating fortress, miles away nearest landmass. Visible horizon line, barely distinguishable twilight hours approached signaling end. Another grueling shift watch duty rotation schedule adhered, strictly maintain order, prevent chaos breaking loose, unexpected circumstances arising suddenly. Without warning whatsoever. Pause now. Consider deeply implications such anomalies manifesting themselves gradually over time, creating unease amongst hardened mariners accustomed facing dangers, headlong, courageously battling elements, nature through path determined, reach goal come. Hell high water alike. By third week underway, tension palpable amongst crew members, noticeable even casual observer, visiting briefly tour, ship inspect preparations, upcoming port call, stopover, resupply provisions, replenish stocks, dwindling steadily consumption. Ongoing voyage, lengthy duration planned originally estimated, accurately accounting unforeseen delays, encountered adverse conditions, encountered mid-ocean crossing, notorious stretch, infamous sudden storms arising seemingly nowhere. Threatening overturned vessels, lesser caliber construction standards enforced today, modern-era shipping industry worldwide recognized importance, safety measures implemented safeguard lives, property alike. One evening, particularly memorable due peculiar incident involving compass readings taken multiple times, different locations, deck yielding inconsistent results, defying explanation, scientific knowledge available, period, concerned parties, involved gathering, discuss findings, compare notes, attempt determine cause, phenomenon observed repeatedly, unable find satisfactory answer, question posed minds, curious individuals, present situation. Let us delve further, exploring chain events leading ultimate discovery, shocking revelation, world still debates possible, explanations, plausible theories proposed, experts, fields, diverse ranging, paranormal enthusiasts, historians, specializing, naval warfare tactics employed ancient civilizations seeking advantage battlefields, vast oceans, separating continents, cultures, peoples alike. During dinner hour, unusually quiet compared usual boisterous atmosphere accompanying mealtime gatherings past voyages undertaken similar circumstances, noted several crewmen absent attendance, normally expected regular occurrence, unless illness prevented participation, somehow overlooked previous occasions, considering overall health condition, reported good medical records, maintained meticulously updated frequent intervals, ensure compliance regulations governing health. Safety standards applicable international waters, traversed regularly, commercial purposes, private expeditions alike. Concern growing amongst remaining participants, prompting inquiry regarding whereabouts missing personnel, initiated immediately searches, conducted systematically covering entire length, breadth, vessel, careful examination, every nook cranny. Storage compartments, engine rooms alike. Leaving stone unturned pursuit answers sought earnestly everyone affected emotionally impact situation unfolding rapidly before eyes disbelief, mounting proportionally increasing uncertainty. Surrounding fate comrades vanished mysteriously, leaving behind only clues formulating incomplete picture reality transpired actuality remains elusive grasp comprehension fully. Night fell quickly over Mary Celeste darkness enveloping surroundings completely save occasional flashes. Lightning distant horizon, illuminating silhouette, majestic ship cutting through waves, methodically powered engines, humming rhythmically background constant reminder, progress continuing forward, direction, predestined meeting, destiny unknown, awaits somewhere beyond immediate perception range, senses sharpened, alertness, heightened anticipation building steadily. Approaching climax story, unraveling threads, mystery woven, complex tapestry events, interwoven destinies, intertwined fates, sealed decisions, made moments, critical importance, defining character testing, metal true measure, worth measured. Actions taken consequences borne responsibility, accepted willingly, reluctantly alike. Hours passed, slowly aboard ghostly silent vessel, once vibrant life pulsating through veins. Timberwork now stilled, eerie quietude reigning supreme oppressive weight, bearing down heavily upon shoulders, few left standing guard positions. Assigned strategically key points, access vital areas requiring protection, safeguarding secrets, hidden deep recesses, memory, collective consciousness, humanity itself, perhaps waiting rediscovery, illumination, truth-buried layers, conjecture, speculation, built generations, removed original source information, originating event, central narrative focus, attention drawn repeatedly, retelling variations, theme, consistent, core essence, preserved intact essence, purest form imaginable. Conceivable limits, human imagination stretched thin, attempting grasp enormity implications contained simple act, recording facts, observing phenomena, natural, unnatural alike, coexisting harmony, discord simultaneously, paradox resolved, unresolved alike. Dawn broke, revealing startling sight, horizon, distant shape, familiar appearing closer, inspection revealed unmistakably, Mary Celeste herself floating aimlessly, currents carrying her inexorably toward shores, far distant origin point departure. Months prior, forgotten momentarily, celebrations welcoming home, heroes, triumphant return, successful mission accomplished, glory, honor, bestowed, appropriately rewarded, riches, fame, fortune alike, awaiting embrace, extended, lovingly, family. Friends missed dearly separated, distance time alike. Bridged finally reunion, joyous tears, happiness, overwhelming emotions, flooding senses, cleansing, purifying soul, spirit alike. However, celebration short-lived, abruptly halted arrival British brig de Gracia Captain David Morehouse friend colleague Captain Jameson, surprising encounter open waters hundreds miles nearest landmass, raising questions immediate. Concern, primary foremost welfare souls aboard, presumed lost sea forevermore, swallowed merciless depths, eternal abyss, hiding countless secrets, untold stories, written, rewritten, erased, rewritten again, cycle, endless repeating patterns. Recurring themes explored, reinterpreted anew, each generation discovering, rediscovering truths, half-forgotten lessons learned, forgotten relearned anew, wisdom gained loss, suffering alike. Boarding party dispatched, investigate, boarded, found eerily deserted interior state preservation, remarkable considering exposure elements prolonged, period absence, human presence evident everywhere, signs, habitation, recent past clearly. Visible tables set uneaten food, remnants, plates, bowls alike, suggesting interruption, sudden unexpected nature, leaving little opportunity preparation, departure, orderly fashion, customary observed formalities, observed proper etiquette, maintained relations, colleagues, peers alike, mutual respect, admiration, shared openly, freely alike, bonds strengthened, tested, adversity overcome together, triumph achieved, united efforts, combined strength greater than some individual parts. alike. Search thorough, comprehensive, uncovered single logbook entry dated day prior abandonment, noting strange occurrences, weather patterns, unusual behavior, compass readings, erratic nature continued until final notation, abrupt cessation entries. Altogether, leaving gaping hole narrative structure, continuity, broken, irreparably gap, impossible bridge conjecture alone, filling spaces, empty voids, created disappearance, persons' accounts alike, leaving investigators frustrated, unsatisfied. Lacking closure, definitive answers sought tirelessly, pursued relentlessly alike, passions ignited curiosity, fueled determination, uncover truth, underlying surface appearances, deceptions alike, masking reality, lurking shadows, waiting, revelation light shining brightly, dispelling darkness, ignorance alike. Speculation rampant wild theories proposed ranging mundane, practical explanations, rational, logical thought processes applied methodically, stepwise deduction, reasoning, analytical alike, producing reasonable conclusions, supported evidence. Available contemporary knowledge base, existing period alike, producing satisfactory resolution, acceptable majority-informed opinions alike, leaving minority dissatisfied, unconvinced, alternate possibilities, explored, considered, dismissed. Eventually, returning original hypotheses, modified, refined, incorporating additional data points, collected, analyzed rigorously alike, producing consensus agreement, general principles, guiding interpretation events, transpired aboard Mary Celeste's mysterious voyage, ultimately unanswered questions, lingering, haunting echoes, reverberating chambers, mind, imagination alike, inspiring creativity, artistic expression, literary works, visual alike, capturing essence, wonder, awe, inspired. Human experience encountering extraordinary, ordinary alike, transcending boundaries, defined limited perspectives, expanding horizons, limitless potential alike, achieving greatness heights undreamt imaginable alike. The skyjacker who jumped and vanished. The sun was setting over the Pacific Northwest, casting a golden hue across the sky as passengers aboard Flight 305 settled into their seats. The air inside the Boeing 727 was filled with quiet conversations and the occasional rustle of newspapers. It was an ordinary afternoon in late autumn when everything changed. D.B. Cooper, a man in his mid-40s wearing a dark suit and tie, boarded the plane at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport like any other traveler. His demeanor seemed calm, almost casual, but there was something about him that caught the attention of those nearby. Perhaps it was the way he carried himself, or the faint glint in his eyes. As the flight prepared for takeoff, Cooper ordered a bourbon on the rocks from one of the flight attendants. "Thank you," he said politely, his voice steady, yet carrying a subtle edge. Little did anyone know, this moment would mark the beginning of one of America's most infamous unsolved mysteries. The atmosphere shifted subtly as the plane ascended into the clouds. Passengers sipped their drinks, read books, or gazed out the windows at the sprawling landscape below. But deep within the confines of the aircraft, tension began to build. After the drink, Cooper handed the flight attendant a note written neatly on a piece of paper. She glanced at it briefly before looking up at him questioningly. He nodded slightly, urging her to read further. Her expression hardened as realization dawned upon her. "I have a bomb," the message stated plainly. Panic rippled through the cabin as words spread among the crew and eventually reached the pilots. Authorities were alerted immediately, initiating a chain of events that would captivate the nation. Ground personnel scrambled to respond, coordinating with local law enforcement and federal agencies. Negotiations ensued between Cooper and officials on the ground. Demands were made: 200, zero in cash, 4 parachutes, and safe passage to Mexico City. The ransom money was hastily assembled, bundled in crisp bills without sequential serial numbers. Parachutes were procured under duress while authorities devised a plan to apprehend the mysterious hijacker once the plane landed again. Yet every move they considered felt 2 steps behind his calculated strategy. Flight 305 touched down at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport after circling long enough for preparations to be completed. Under the cover of darkness, Cooper exchanged the hostages for the demanded items. Only a few crew members remained on board as the jet refueled and prepared for its next leg-a-short journey southward toward Reno, Nevada. Inside the cabin, silence reigned supreme. The hum of engines provided a monotonous backdrop against which thoughts raced wildly among those present. What was going through Cooper's mind? Was this merely a desperate act born out of necessity or part of some grander scheme? Upon arrival in Reno, Cooper instructed the pilots to head toward Mexico City, maintaining low altitude to avoid radar detection. However, midway through the flight, he exited the rear staircase of the aircraft using one of the parachutes, leaping into the abyss amidst torrential rain and fierce winds. Time seemed to stand still as witnesses watched in disbelief. How could anyone survive such a daring escape? Questions lingered heavily in the air, unanswered and unyielding. In the days following Cooper's disappearance, search parties scoured vast stretches of wilderness where he might have landed. Helicopters buzzed overhead while teams trudged through dense forests and muddy terrain. Despite extensive efforts spanning years, no conclusive evidence emerged linking him directly to a specific location or identity. Speculation ran rampant. Was he a former military operative, a skilled pilot, or simply a man driven by desperation? Decades later, fragments of the story resurfaced periodically, reigniting public interest. In 1980, a young boy playing along the banks of the Columbia River discovered a rotting bundle containing several $1,000s worth of the ransom money. This find fueled renewed speculation regarding Cooper's fate. Had he managed to evade capture altogether? Did he perish during the jump? Or perhaps lived quietly somewhere unknown, forever cloaked in mystery? The children who disappeared in a fire with no remains. The sun was setting over the small town of Maplewood, casting long shadows across the quiet streets. The air was filled with the scent of pine trees and the distant sound of birds returning to their nests. It was a peaceful evening in early autumn when everything seemed calm and serene. But little did anyone know that this tranquility would soon be shattered by an event that would haunt the people of Maplewood for generations. On that fateful day, a group of children had gathered at the local community center for an after-school program. The building was old, but beloved, its wooden walls adorned with colorful paintings made by generations of children who had passed through its doors. Inside, laughter echoed as kids played games, drew pictures, and shared stories about their days at school. Among them were Emily Carter, aged 10, her younger brother Daniel, just 7 years old, and their neighbor Jake Thompson, who turned 12 only last month. They were all best friends, inseparable since kindergarten. As the clock struck 5, Mrs. Anderson, the kind-hearted supervisor, began preparing the room for dismissal. She reminded the children to gather their belongings before heading home. Some parents were already waiting outside, chatting casually while glancing at their watches. Others sent messages asking if someone could pick up their child because they were running late due to unexpected work commitments or family emergencies. At around 5:15 p.m., disaster struck without warning. A spark from faulty wiring ignited near the storage closet where flammable materials like paint thinner and cleaning supplies were kept. Within seconds, flames erupted, spreading rapidly through the dry wooden structure. Panic set in as thick smoke filled the air, choking everyone inside. Mrs. Anderson tried her best to keep the children calm, shouting instructions above the chaos. "Stay low. Follow me," she yelled, her voice trembling yet determined. But the fire spread too quickly, trapping many within the burning building. Outside, screams pierced the night as bystanders realized what was happening. Neighbors rushed to help, forming a human chain to pass buckets of water from the nearby well. However, it wasn't enough against such fierce flames fueled by decades-old timber. Fire trucks eventually arrived, sirens wailing loudly as they tore down the narrow roads leading to the scene. Yet precious minutes had been lost, and the damage was already catastrophic. In those terrifying moments, Emily held tightly onto Daniel's hand, tears streaming down her face as she whispered words of encouragement despite being utterly terrified herself. Jake stayed close behind them, coughing violently but refusing to let go of his friends even as heat seared their skin. Meanwhile, Mrs. Anderson continued guiding others towards safety, risking her own life multiple times to ensure no one was left behind. Her heroic efforts saved several lives, though not everyone made it out unscathed or alive. When the inferno finally subsided hours later, leaving behind nothing but charred ruins, the entire town mourned deeply. Funerals followed one after another, each bringing fresh waves of sorrow. For the survivors, life changed forever. Emily carried scars, both physical and emotional, often waking up screaming during nights haunted by memories of that horrific ordeal. Daniel struggled with speech issues caused by inhaling toxic fumes, requiring extensive therapy. And Jake became quieter than ever before, withdrawing into himself as he processed the trauma alongside guilt over surviving when so many didn't. Yet, amidst grief emerged resilience. The people of Maplewood came together stronger than ever, supporting one another through dark times. Memorials were built honoring those lost, serving as reminders of lives cut tragically short. Scholarships funded in victims' names helped future generations pursue dreams deferred. Most importantly, stricter safety regulations were implemented statewide following investigations revealing preventable causes behind the tragedy. 3 women gone from a suburban home. The sun had just begun to dip below the horizon, painting the suburban neighborhood of Willow Creek in hues of orange and pink. The air was calm, with a gentle breeze rustling through the trees as children's laughter echoed from nearby yards. It was an ordinary evening in this quiet community where life seemed to move at a slower pace. But beneath the surface of this serene town lay a mystery that would soon unravel, leaving its residents shaken and searching for answers. At 7:15 p.m., Emily Carter returned home after her weekly yoga class. She carried 2 grocery bags filled with fresh produce and ingredients for dinner. Her husband, Mark, was already waiting inside their modest brick house on Maple Street, preparing for a night of relaxation after a long day at work. Their 3 daughters, Emma, aged 12, Claire, 10, and Lily, 8, had been playing outside earlier but were expected to be settling down for homework by now. As Emily walked through the front door, she called out cheerfully, "Girls, I'm home." There was no response. She paused, feeling a flicker of unease before shaking it off. They must be engrossed in their books or games, she thought. Mark greeted her warmly, giving her a quick kiss on the cheek. "Did you find everything?" he asked, helping her carry the groceries into the kitchen. "Yeah," Emily replied with a smile, placing the items onto the counter. "I even got your favorite chocolate cake mix." Her voice trailed off as she glanced toward the living room. "Where are the girls? I didn't hear them when I came in." "They went upstairs to finish their homework," Mark said casually, pouring himself a glass of water. "I told them they needed to get it done before we watched that movie tonight." Emily nodded, setting aside her keys and heading up the staircase. Each step creaked softly underfoot, creating a rhythmic sound that filled the otherwise silent house. When she reached the top, she noticed something odd. Their bedroom door was slightly ajar, which wasn't unusual, but there was no sign of any activity coming from the girls' shared room next door. Curious, she knocked lightly before pushing the door open. Inside, the room appeared untouched. Books lay neatly stacked on shelves, posters of unicorns and butterflies adorned the walls, and twin beds stood side by side, perfectly made. A faint scent of lavender lingered in the air, reminding Emily of the diffuser she'd set up last week. Yet, despite the familiar surroundings, the absence of her daughters felt jarring. Panic began to creep in as she turned around and hurried back downstairs. "Mark," she called urgently, her tone rising. "The girls aren't upstairs. Have you seen them?" Mark frowned, putting down his glass. "What do you mean? I thought they were doing homework. Did you check the backyard?" Together, they searched every corner of the house, the living room, dining area, laundry room, even the basement, but there was no trace of Emma, Claire, or Lily. The clock ticked past 7:30 p.m. as worry gave way to fear. Mark grabbed his phone and dialed their neighbor, Mrs. Peterson, who often kept an eye on the kids during afternoons. After several rings, she answered, sounding confused. "No, dear, I haven't seen them since this morning," Mrs. Peterson replied gently. "Are you sure they're not just hiding somewhere?" "We've looked everywhere," Emily interjected, her voice trembling. "Something doesn't feel right." By 7:45 p.m., Mark had called the local police department, reporting the disappearance of their 3 daughters. Officers arrived within minutes, bringing with them a sense of professionalism mixed with concern. Detective Jameson, a seasoned investigator known for his calm demeanor, took charge of the situation. He listened intently as Emily recounted the events of the evening, his eyes scanning the room for any clues. "Have you noticed anything unusual recently?" Detective Jameson asked, his voice steady yet probing. "Any strangers in the area? Changes in behavior?" Emily shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "No, nothing. Everything seemed normal. We live in such a safe neighborhood. How could this happen?" As the investigation unfolded, neighbors gathered outside the Carters' home, whispering among themselves. The once peaceful street buzzed with speculation and fear. Some mentioned seeing a white van parked near the end of the block earlier that afternoon, though no one could confirm if it belonged to anyone suspicious. Others recalled hearing distant sirens around dinner time, though none could say whether they were connected to the current events. Back inside the house, detectives conducted a thorough search, examining windows, doors, and locks for signs of forced entry. To everyone's relief, there was no evidence of a break-in, suggesting the girls might have left willingly or been lured away. Still, the possibility of foul play loomed large, weighing heavily on the shoulders of those involved. The following days brought both hope and heartbreak. Flyers bearing the smiling faces of Emma, Claire, and Lily were distributed throughout Willow Creek and beyond, pinned to bulletin boards, handed out at schools, and shared online. Community members organized search parties, combing through parks, woods, and abandoned buildings in hopes of finding a clue. Meanwhile, forensic experts analyzed fingerprints and DNA samples collected from the girls' belongings, piecing together fragments of information that might lead to their whereabouts. Detective Jameson remained optimistic, though cautious. He reminded the Carters and the public that cases like these often required patience and persistence. Every tip, no matter how small, was followed up diligently. Phone calls poured in, some credible, others less so, each one adding another layer to the puzzle. Weeks turned into months, and while leads emerged, none proved conclusive. The media coverage waned, but the pain endured by the Carters never did. Emily found solace in prayer and journaling, documenting her thoughts and memories of her daughters in hopes of keeping their spirits alive. Mark threw himself into work, using productivity as a coping mechanism, though nights were fraught with sleepless hours and haunting questions. The 5 friends who vanished without explanation. It was a crisp autumn morning in the small town of Maplewood, USA. The air carried the scent of fallen leaves and distant campfires as 5 friends gathered at dawn near an old wooden bridge that spanned over Whispering Creek. Their laughter echoed softly through the misty forest, their plans for the day filled with excitement. They were known around town as adventurous souls who loved exploring hidden trails and forgotten places. There was Jake, the oldest among them, always eager to lead. Emily, whose curiosity knew no bounds. Mark, the quiet one with a sharp eye for detail. Rachel, full of energy and jokes. And finally Liam, ever ready to support his friends with unwavering loyalty. The group had decided to spend the weekend hiking deep into the Blackwood Forest, a vast expanse of towering trees and winding paths that seemed endless. As they prepared their backpacks, filling them with water bottles, snacks, flashlights, and maps, they joked about finding treasure or stumbling upon something mysterious. The sun peeked through the canopy above, casting golden light on the ground below. Birds chirped melodiously, and the rustling of leaves added to the serene atmosphere. At exactly 7:00 a.m., the friends began their journey, walking along the main trail that led deeper into the woods. Each step took them further away from civilization, each turn revealing new wondrous bubbling brook here, a cluster of mushrooms there, and even a family of deer watching them curiously before disappearing into the underbrush. Time seemed to slow down as they marveled at nature's beauty, their voices blending harmoniously with the sounds of the forest. By noon, they reached a clearing where sunlight poured in like liquid gold. It was perfect for lunch, so they sat down on soft moss, sharing stories and dreams while eating sandwiches and fruit. Laughter rang out again, echoing across the clearing. Afterward, they rested briefly, basking in the warmth of the sun filtering through the branches above. But it wasn't long before the urge to explore more took hold once more. As the afternoon wore on, they ventured off the beaten path, following a narrower trail that promised adventure. The forest grew denser, shadows lengthening as the sun dipped lower in the sky. By late afternoon, the temperature dropped noticeably, and the cheerful chatter slowed to occasional whispers. Something about this part of the forest felt different, quieter, almost too still. Still, they pressed on, determined to see what lay ahead. When dusk fell, the friends realized they needed to set up camp soon. Darkness came quickly in the forest, and they wanted to avoid getting lost. However, as they searched for a suitable spot, strange things started happening. First, Mark noticed that their compass was spinning erratically, unable to point north consistently. Then, Emily swore she heard faint whispers coming from the trees, though none of the others could hear anything. Rachel tried to lighten the mood by making jokes, but her laughter sounded forced even to herself. Finally, they found a clearing surrounded by ancient oaks and settled in for the night. Fires were forbidden in this area due to wildfire risks, so they huddled together under blankets, relying on their headlamps for light. Conversation dwindled as fatigue set in, and one by one, they drifted off to sleep. Or so it seemed. When the first rays of sunlight broke through the treetops the next morning, there was no sign of Jake, Emily, Mark, Rachel, or Liam. Their belongings remained scattered around the Claringa half-eaten granola bar, a flashlight lying face-up, a map folded neatly beside a rock butt. The friends themselves had vanished without a trace. Search parties scoured the forest for days, helicopters scanned the skies, and experts offered theories ranging from wildlife attacks to alien abductions, yet nothing concrete emerged. No evidence of struggle, no signs of departure, just nothing. Back in Maplewood, shock rippled through the community. Families grieved openly, neighbors whispered speculations late into the night, and local newspapers ran front-page stories about the mysterious disappearance. Some claimed to have seen lights dancing in the forest the night the friends went missing, while others spoke of hearing eerie music floating through the air. None of these accounts could be verified, leaving only questions and uncertainty behind. Years passed, and though the case remained unsolved, the legend of the 5 friends who vanished without explanation grew stronger. Hikers avoided certain parts of Blackwood Forest after dark, claiming to feel an unsettling presence lingering there. Tourists flocked to Maplewood during autumn, hoping to catch a glimpse of the mysterious phenomena rumored to exist within those woods. And somewhere, perhaps deep within the heart of the forest, the truth waited patiently to be discovered, or perhaps never revealed at all. This is how the story unfolded, piece by piece, leaving room for imagination and wonder. For some, it became a cautionary tale about venturing too far into the unknown. For others, it sparked fascination with the mysteries of the natural world. Whatever perspective you choose, one thing remains undeniable. The power of such tales lies not in definitive answers, but in the questions they inspire. And so, the legend endures, carried forward by each generation that hears it, whispered softly beneath the stars on quiet autumn nights. There may never be closure for the families of Jake, Emily, Mark, Rachel, and Liam. Yet, in remembering their courage and spirit, we honor their memory and, perhaps, just perhaps, keep alive the hope that someday, somewhere, they'll return to tell us what truly happened in the depths of Blackwood Forest. Until then, the forest holds its secrets tightly, waiting silently for someone brave enough or foolish enough to uncover them. Her car was found wrecked, but she was gone. Her car was found wrecked, but she was gone. The sun had barely risen over the quiet town of Pine Hollow that morning. It was a chilly October day, with a thin layer of frost covering the ground and mist swirling through the dense forest surrounding the small community. The air carried an eerie stillness, broken only by the distant chirping of birds and the occasional rustling of leaves in the crisp autumn breeze. In this serene yet haunting setting, a mystery unfolded that would grip the entire nation. At around 6:30 a.m., a local farmer named John Carter was making his usual early morning rounds near Blackwater Creek when he spotted something unusual on the side of the road. His old pickup truck's headlights illuminated what appeared to be a severely damaged vehicle partially submerged in the creek. Curiosity turned to concern as he approached the scene, noticing the car's license plate registered to Emily Thompson, a well-known resident of Pine Hollow. John's voice trembled as he called emergency services, describing the wrecked vehicle and its ominous surroundings. "There's no sign of her anywhere," he reported, his tone heavy with unease. "It's like she just vanished into thin air." Authorities arrived within minutes, their sirens breaking the morning calm as they began investigating the peculiar scene. The car, a silver sedan, bore significant damage consistent with a high-speed collision. Tire marks led up to the point where it went off the road, but strangely, there were no skid marks indicating an attempt to brake. More puzzling was the absence of any personal belongings inside the vehicle, no purse, phone, or identification. The driver's seat was pushed back as if accommodating someone taller than Emily, who was known for her petite stature. Detective Mark Reynolds, leading the investigation, examined the scene with meticulous attention to detail. "This doesn't add up," he muttered under his breath, noting how neatly folded the seatbelt lay across the empty passenger seat. His years of experience told him something wasn't right about this picture. The medical examiner estimated the time of impact at approximately midnight, based on environmental factors and vehicle temperature. As word spread throughout Pine Hollow, neighbors and friends gathered at the local diner, discussing theories over cups of steaming coffee. Martha Peterson, Emily's closest confidant, recalled seeing her friend earlier that evening at the community center's annual Harvest Festival. She seemed distracted. Martha remembered, her voice tinged with sadness, kept checking her watch and looking toward the parking lot. The search intensified as authorities scoured the area surrounding Blackwater Creek. Helicopters hovered overhead while canine units combed through the dense woods nearby. Volunteers from the community joined in, hoping against hope they might find some clue to Emily's whereabouts. Meanwhile, forensic teams worked tirelessly analyzing evidence from the crash site, searching for answers to questions that multiplied with each passing hour. In the days that followed, investigators discovered surveillance footage from a convenience store located 3 miles from the accident scene. The video showed Emily purchasing gas at 11:47 p.m., appearing calm and composed. However, moments later, another vehicle pulled into frame, a dark-colored SUV whose driver exchanged brief words with Emily before driving away. Witnesses confirmed seeing similar vehicles in the area recently, though none could provide identifying details. Meanwhile, Emily's family struggled to comprehend what had happened to their loved one. Her brother, Michael, described her as cautious and responsible, always mindful of safety precautions. "It's not like her to take unnecessary risks," he explained during a press conference, his voice cracking with emotion. "Something doesn't feel right about all this." As days turned into weeks, the case garnered national attention, drawing in experts from various fields to assist in the investigation. Psychologists analyzed possible motives, criminologists studied patterns, and technology specialists reviewed digital footprints left behind. Yet despite these efforts, key pieces of the puzzle remained frustratingly out of reach. One evening, as Detective Reynolds reviewed case files in his office, he noticed something peculiar about the tire tracks leading to the crash site. Their pattern suggested deliberate steering rather than an accidental loss of control. This revelation sparked renewed interest in the mysterious SUV captured on surveillance footage, prompting law enforcement agencies across multiple states to collaborate in identifying potential suspects. Throughout this period, the people of Pine Hollow continued their daily lives while holding on to hope for answers. Schoolchildren placed handmade get-well cards in Emily's mailbox, church groups organized prayer meetings, and businesses displayed signs offering rewards for information leading to her safe return. Each act of kindness served as a reminder of the tight-knit community's determination to see justice served. Months passed, bringing both frustration and progress to the investigation. A breakthrough came when a tipster reported seeing a suspicious individual loitering near Blackwater Creek shortly before the reported time of impact. Surveillance cameras at a nearby intersection captured images of a man matching the description, wearing distinctive clothing items linked to previous unsolved cases in neighboring regions. With renewed focus, investigators expanded their search parameters, examining connections between seemingly unrelated incidents involving missing persons and vehicular accidents. Patterns emerged, suggesting a more sinister explanation behind Emily's disappearance. Forensic analysis revealed trace elements in the wreckage inconsistent with natural causes, further supporting suspicions of foul play. Despite these developments, definitive proof eluded authorities. Legal restrictions prevented them from disclosing certain aspects of the investigation to the public, leaving many questions unanswered. Community members grappled with uncertainty while continuing to support Emily's family through difficult times. Then, one fateful afternoon, a routine traffic stop in a distant state yielded unexpected results. Officers conducting a background check on the driver of a dark SUV discovered links to the ongoing investigation. Upon questioning, the individual provided conflicting statements about their whereabouts during the critical timeframe surrounding Emily's disappearance. Subsequent searches of the vehicle uncovered additional evidence connecting it to the Blackwater Creek incident. Armed with this new information, detectives re-examined every aspect of the case, piecing together events leading up to that fateful night. They reconstructed scenarios based on available data, consulting experts in human behavior and criminal psychology to understand motivations behind actions taken. Slowly but surely, the complex web surrounding Emily's disappearance began unraveling. Ultimately, the truth proved more complicated than anyone initially imagined. Factors ranging from personal relationships to external pressures influenced decisions made that evening, creating circumstances beyond simple explanations. As details emerged, they painted a picture of deception intertwined with tragedy, challenging perceptions held by those involved. For the residents of Pine Hollow, closure came not through dramatic revelations, but gradual understanding gained over time. Through shared experiences and collective efforts, bonds strengthened within the community, fostering resilience amidst adversity. While questions remained, answers provided enough clarity for healing processes to begin. Years later, people still talk about the mystery of Blackwater Creek, remembering Emily and lessons learned from her story. Her memory lives on through initiatives established in her honor, promoting awareness about issues highlighted during the investigation. Though exact circumstances may never be fully known, her legacy endures as a testament to human spirit overcoming challenges. The man who walked out of a bar and into thin air. It was a crisp autumn evening in the small town of Maplewood, USA. The air carried that familiar chill, signaling the end of summer and the beginning of cooler days ahead. The streetlights flickered to life, casting long shadows across Main Street as dusk settled in. At precisely 7:15 p.m., a man named Robert walked out of Joe's Bar Grill, a well-known watering hole for locals who gathered there after work or on weekends to unwind. The bar itself was warm and inviting, filled with laughter, clinking glasses, and the faint scent of burgers sizzling on the grill. Inside, patrons sat at wooden tables or leaned against the polished counter, chatting animatedly about their day's events. But outside, it was different. Outside, the world seemed quieter, almost serene under the amber glow of the street lamps. Robert paused momentarily at the entrance, adjusting his leather jacket before stepping fully into the cool night air. He had been inside for nearly an hour, enjoying a drink while reflecting on recent changes in his life. His thoughts were scattered but peaceful until he took that first step away from the bar. As he turned left onto Main Street, heading toward his parked car just a block away, something strange happened. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd still lingering near the bar. It wasn't loud, more like a hushed exhalation of surprise and then silence. Robert disappeared. Not gradually, not obscured by fog or shadow. He simply vanished mid-step, as though swallowed whole by thin air. One moment, he was walking briskly down the sidewalk. The next, gone without a trace. No scream echoed into the night, no struggle, no sign of foul play, just emptiness where he once stood. Inside Joe's bar, several witnesses rushed out immediately upon hearing murmurs of disbelief among those already outside. They scanned the area frantically, calling Robert's name over and over again. Some even jogged up and down the street, searching alleyways and peeking behind dumpsters. Nothing. Not even footprints lingered on the pavement, despite the fact that moments earlier they could clearly see him moving along the path. Witness accounts varied slightly depending on who you asked, but all agreed on one thing. Whatever occurred, it happened instantly. Mary Ann, a waitress at the bar, claimed she saw a brief flash of light, but when questioned further, admitted it might have been her eyes playing tricks due to exhaustion. Another patron, Tom, swore he heard a low hum seconds before Robert vanished, though no one else confirmed this detail. Confusion reigned supreme as theories began swirling faster than answers came. By 8:00 p.m., news spread quickly throughout Maplewood. Word traveled via phone calls between neighbors, radio announcements interrupted regular programming, and soon enough, law enforcement arrived en masse. Officers cordoned off the scene, interviewing anyone who claimed to have seen anything unusual. Detectives pored over security footage from nearby businesses, hoping to catch a glimpse of what transpired. Yet every camera angle ended abruptly at the exact moment Robert stepped out of frame. Detective Jameson, a seasoned investigator known for solving some of the most perplexing cases in the region, led the effort. He approached each witness methodically, asking questions designed to piece together fragments of truth. "Did you notice anything odd leading up to the disappearance?" He inquired gently, yet firmly, tilting his head slightly to convey genuine interest. Each response added another layer to the mystery, but none provided definitive clarity. As hours turned into days, speculation grew wilder. Some suggested alien abduction, a theory fueled by old tales of strange lights spotted hovering above rural fields years ago. Others pointed fingers at secret government experiments gone awry, citing rumors of classified testing sites hidden deep within nearby forests. A few locals whispered about curses tied to ancient legends passed down through generations, though these claims were met with skepticism by skeptics. Meanwhile, back at Joe's bar, business boomed unexpectedly. People flocked to the spot where it all began, eager to discuss theories late into the night over drinks. For many, the event became both horrifying and fascinating, an unexplainable phenomenon begging for resolution. Bartender Frank capitalized on the attention, creating a special cocktail called the Vanishing Act, which quickly became the talk of the town. Weeks passed without significant breakthroughs. Experts consulted included physicists, paranormal investigators, and psychologists specializing in mass hysteria. None offered conclusive explanations. Meanwhile, Robert's family struggled emotionally, grappling with uncertainty surrounding his fate. His younger brother, Michael, visited Maplewood regularly, distributing flyers and speaking publicly about his brother's character, emphasizing how unlikely it would be for Robert to willingly leave without saying goodbye. Months later, during springtime when snow melted away, revealing fresh greenery, a peculiar discovery emerged. An elderly woman living 2 towns over reported finding a single item belonging to Robert buried beneath a pile of leaves in her backyard. This object, a silver pocket watch engraved with initials, reignited hope among investigators. Could its location provide clues? Or was it merely coincidence? Examinations revealed nothing unusual about the watch itself, except perhaps its pristine condition considering where it was found. Still, its appearance renewed efforts to solve the case. Teams scoured surrounding areas, expanding search zones based on new leads derived from interviews conducted with residents near the second site. Years went by, and while interest waned somewhat, the memory of Robert remained etched deeply into the fabric of Maplewood. Annual gatherings commemorated the event, drawing curious visitors from afar eager to hear first-hand accounts retold passionately around campfires under starlit skies. Over time, the story evolved slightly with each telling, gaining mythical qualities reminiscent of folklore handed down orally through centuries. The Polaroid of a bound girl found on the roadside. The sun was setting over the quiet town of Maplewood, casting long shadows across the winding roads that connected the small community to the outside world. It was one of those late autumn evenings where the air carried a crisp chill, and the golden hues of sunlight painted everything in warm tones. This was the kind of evening when people usually hurried home after work or school, eager to escape the encroaching darkness. But on this particular day, something unusual would disrupt the peaceful rhythm of life in Maplewood. A young woman named Emily had been driving along Route 17, heading back from her evening shift at the local diner. She loved these drives. They gave her time to reflect on her day while enjoying the serene beauty of nature around her. The road stretched endlessly before her, flanked by dense woods on either side. As she approached a curve just past mile marker 32, something caught her eye, a flash of white lying partially hidden beneath a cluster of bushes near the shoulder of the road. Intrigued but cautious, Emily slowed down her car and pulled over as far as possible to avoid obstructing traffic. Her heart began to race as curiosity got the better of her. Stepping out into the cool night air, Emily carefully made her way toward the object. With each step closer, her breath hitched slightly. What she found wasn't what she expected. It was an old Polaroid photograph, faded with age, yet still retaining its haunting clarity. In the image, there sat a girl no older than 16, bound tightly with rope, her face marked with fear and desperation. Behind her loomed a dark figure whose features were obscured by shadow. The scene was chillingly stark against what appeared to be a forest clearing. Emily's hands trembled as she stared at the photo, questions swirling through her mind like leaves caught in a gust of wind. Who was this girl? Why was such a disturbing image left here, seemingly abandoned? And why did it feel so familiar, almost as if it belonged to another era entirely? Taking a deep breath to steady herself, Emily decided to report her discovery immediately. Returning to her car, she dialed 911, explaining calmly, despite the storm raging inside her chest. Officers arrived within minutes, their presence bringing both relief and unease. They examined the Polaroid closely, noting every detail: the girl's clothing, the knot patterns in the ropes, even the faint markings on the tree trunks visible in the background. One officer, Detective Mark Bennett, seemed particularly intrigued. His sharp eyes scanned the photo repeatedly, his expression unreadable. "Can you tell me exactly where you found this?" he asked gently, his tone measured but tinged with urgency. "Right over there," Emily replied, pointing toward the spot. It looked like it had been there for a while. There was dirt stuck to the edges. Detective Bennett nodded thoughtfully, jotting notes in his pad. He then requested Emily accompany them to the station for further questioning, ensuring she understood the importance of preserving any potential evidence. Reluctantly, she agreed, though her thoughts churned restlessly throughout the ride. At the police station, Detective Bennett delved deeper into the mystery. Using advanced imaging technology, his team enhanced the Polaroid, revealing more details about the location depicted. Cross-referencing maps and historical records, they identified the area as an old logging camp abandoned decades ago, nestled deep within the forests surrounding Maplewood. This revelation sparked memories among some of the older residents who remembered rumors of disappearances linked to that very place during the 1980s. Meanwhile, forensic experts analyzed the physical condition of the Polaroid itself. Traces of soil and pollen embedded in the fibers suggested it had indeed lain outdoors for quite some time. However, microscopic fibers discovered on the back hinted at modern synthetic materials, raising questions about whether the photo might have been taken recently or perhaps staged to appear older. As days turned into weeks, the investigation unfolded layer by layer. Local newspapers picked up the story, sparking public interest and concern. Tips poured in from all directions, some credible, others wild speculation. Among these leads emerged the name Laura Carter, a teenager reported missing 30 years prior under mysterious circumstances. Her case had never been solved, fading into obscurity amidst other pressing matters of the time. Could this Polaroid somehow connect to her disappearance? Detective Bennett revisited old case files, piecing together fragments of information. Interviews with surviving family members revealed Laura had last been seen walking home from a friend's house not far from the logging camp. Her parents described her as adventurous but responsible, unlikely to wander off without reason. Yet, no trace of her had ever been found until now. The search intensified, drawing volunteers from the community to comb the forest areas mentioned in the Polaroid. Armed with GPS devices and supplies, teams spread out systematically, determined to uncover whatever secrets lay hidden beneath the canopy. Days passed with little success, frustration mounting among participants. Just when hope seemed waning, one group stumbled upon something extraordinary: an underground bunker concealed beneath layers of earth and vegetation. Inside, investigators uncovered remnants of furniture, tools, and personal items dating back several decades. Most striking was a collection of additional Polaroids tucked away in a dusty drawer, each capturing moments eerily similar to the original photo Emily had found. These images told a grim narrative of captivity and despair, implicating someone capable of unimaginable cruelty. Further analysis tied the photos to a man named Robert Hayes, once a respected member of the Maplewood community known for his work in conservation efforts. Records showed he owned property adjacent to the logging camp during the relevant time frame. When confronted with the evidence, Hayes initially denied involvement, citing alibis later proven false. Under relentless interrogation, cracks formed in his facade, leading eventually to a confession laced with remorse and justification. Hayes admitted to abducting Laura and others over the years, driven by twisted desires masked behind acts of kindness. He claimed psychological torment stemming from childhood trauma justified his actions, though nothing could excuse the pain inflicted upon innocent victims. Authorities worked tirelessly to identify remaining individuals pictured in the Polaroids, hoping to bring closure to families still searching for answers. Back in Maplewood, life slowly returned to normalcy, albeit forever changed by the events unearthed. Emily continued her routine, haunted yet inspired by her role in unraveling the truth. Detective Bennett earned accolades for his dedication, though he remained humble, acknowledging teamwork as key to success. For the Carters and countless other affected families, justice brought neither full resolution nor healing, only acknowledgement of wrongs committed. The Unknown Boy in the Box. A chilling mist hung low over Philadelphia on a crisp morning, casting an eerie shadow across the city. The air carried a sense of mystery and unease as people went about their daily routines. In this bustling metropolis, amidst the noise of life, lay a discovery that would haunt the nation for decades. Somewhere in the heart of Philadelphia, near 69th Street, a young boy was found inside a cardboard box, his identity shrouded in darkness. This is his story. It was a quiet Tuesday morning when a passerby stumbled upon something unusual at the edge of a neighborhood. Nestled among the trash bins sat a simple cardboard box, its contents hidden from view. Curiosity piqued. The person approached cautiously, their footsteps echoing softly against the pavement. As they opened the box, a gasp escaped their lips. Inside lay a small child, seemingly abandoned with no explanation. The scene was both heartbreaking and perplexing, setting off alarms within the community. The boy appeared to be around 4 or 5 years old, his features delicate yet marked by confusion and fear. His clothes were modest but clean, hinting at care taken before his mysterious placement. Around him, there were no clues, no identifying marks, no notes left behind, only silence. Nearby stood an old oak tree whose branches swayed gently in the breeze, as if whispering secrets it could not share. The atmosphere grew heavier with each passing moment, filled with questions begging answers. Authorities arrived swiftly after receiving reports from concerned citizens. Detective Mark Reeves, known for his sharp instincts and unwavering dedication, took charge of the investigation. He observed the scene carefully, noting every detail, the condition of the box, the positioning of the child, even the faint scent lingering in the air. Time seemed to stand still as he pieced together fragments of information, hoping to uncover who this little boy was and why he had been placed here. As days turned into weeks, investigators combed through records, interviewed neighbors, and scoured public spaces for any leads. Flyers bearing the boy's picture were distributed far and wide, carrying messages of hope alongside pleas for assistance. Yet, despite these efforts, answers remained elusive, much like the boy himself. Meanwhile, social services stepped in to ensure his immediate needs were met, while authorities continued their relentless pursuit of truth. Within the shelter where he now resided temporarily, the boy displayed remarkable resilience despite his circumstances. Though initially withdrawn, he gradually began opening up to those around him, revealing glimpses of his personality through subtle actions and expressions. One afternoon, during playtime, he picked up crayons and started drawing scenes of what appeared to be a park with swings and laughter, a memory perhaps? The colony that vanished without a trace. The sun was setting over Roanoke Island, casting long shadows across the dense forest and sandy shores. A gentle breeze rustled through the trees as Captain John White stepped onto the soil he had once called home. His heart pounded